This is About That Business, hosted by Rom Wills, author, speaker, and entrepreneur. Sit back and enjoy.
Greetings, fam. Today I'm going to talk about money management. And this is a very important topic. And, it fits in with the theme I have going of the financial house. Because one of the things I've found over the years, just because somebody makes a lot of money doesn't mean that they're necessarily good with money. And, an example of this is the several times that I've known people who were making like either close to six figures or six figures, or end up filing for bankruptcy, end up having a home to go into foreclosure. And that's because even though they were on a job making a lot of money, they didn't do anything to produce income producing assets. They didn't invest in those. You get the usual pattern is this. They usually get the money, they're happy, they like making money, and they buy stuff. They buy wealth reducing liabilities. They'll get that big car, that big truck. They'll get that house, which, contrary to popular belief, is not wealth. Only time it might be wealth is once you pay it off. Right? If you paying a mortgage, it's not wealth. First, you don't own it. Two, even though people think that, even if you pay it off, you can sell it, you can make a lot of money. That depends on a lot of stuff. That depends on a lot of stuff. If you have a bunch of foreclosures in your neighborhood, that brings the property prices down. So, it's potential wealth, but it's not really wealth. And really, for most of the time, it's going to just drain money, just keeping it up and everything. But, that's one way. Or, people get a debt, whole bunch of stuff, trying to keep up with the Joneses. So it's like, even though they're making a lot, they might be living paycheck to paycheck. Now, here's the irony. Somebody who's not making nearly as much can also have great money management skills where they could take a little bit and turn it into a lot. For example, say you have a person, they have a take home of $24,000 a year. That's $2,000 a month. Now, in this day and age, that might not seem like a lot, but it is above the poverty line. But they're smart with how they spend their money. First, they don't get a house, at least not right away. They get maybe an apartment in a modest neighborhood where they're not paying over $1,000 for it. And I'll say $1,000 to cover expenses and everything. And I'm saying a modest neighborhood. All right, you might, it'd be hard to find in an exclusive neighborhood anything that low. But depending on where you live, if you're not living in a big city, maybe in, outside of a city or suburbs or something, which is what a lot of people do. You find a nice place, nice and calm. And also, maybe get a used car, even if you're paying for it, keep that price, under $200, maybe pay some, that in insurance, that's $1,300. Really be disciplined. Somebody might say, well, I don't really need TV or something, pay for a phone, food, all of that. You still might have a couple $100 left a month, right? That person's smart and saves the money, right? And, after a while, the savings adds up. And then once you do all that savings, you might be able to get to the point where you can make you can actually make a living. Well, not a living, but you can actually start looking at income producing assets. At that point, depending on how long it takes, it might take a couple years to get there, but if you get enough money, then you might can look at some houses. Like one thing, I've known some people who flip houses, they might get a house in a tax sale or a foreclosed house, real inexpensive. Then fix the house up. And, some people can do their own work. They fix the house up. They maybe either rent it out or sell it. All of a sudden, even though they were making a little bit of money at first, they make a whole lot of money. Like, you got a lot of dudes who You got some handyman type, contractor type. They can save money by doing their own work in the house. Right? And that's how ironically, a lot of these house flippers are very good at doing their own work. As this guy I know said, hey man, you can put in a toilet. You just got busted out and put in a toilet. You get a lot of guys like that, right? A lot of men especially, right? But anyway, all of a sudden, you rent out that house. Say you rent it out for $1,500, right? Maybe you have to pay $1,000 on the mortgage and everything. You still getting a $500 a month profit, and you can put that away. Eventually, you could save up enough, maybe get another house, and then all of a sudden you got two houses, $1,000 profit a month, and your salary still around that 24,000 take home, right? All of a sudden you making as much from your homes as you are from your regular job. And that's how a lot of people do it. Do their own work, save a lot of money there, do what they can. But it's all about that money management. Because you got so many people, they're not thinking about how to make that money work for them. They just get it and they spend it. And they feel good about spending it too. Brag about it, say, that money burning a hole in my pocket. Man, that's crazy. How you going to work that way? You can't. You really can't. Nah, you got to think about it. It's like that's the most important thing. You might have to, and you got to have that discipline, not just in like utilities and stuff, but in little things. Because it's amazing how some people, they just buy. They'll eat too much food. They'll, got to eat out every night. Or they got to get the latest clothes. They got to get shoes they don't need, or polo shirts, or stuff that they might not even wear that much. It's that whole keeping up with the Joneses thing and looking good instead of just having the actual assets. So that money management, it's important. Now, one of the things to get started in it is just savings. Even if you don't have any idea what kind of income producing assets that you might want to look into, the first thing everybody should do is always pay themselves. Ideally 10%. Ideally 10% off your paycheck. Ideally. It might be tough to do that for whatever reason. You know what? Sometimes you just give $1. $5. All right, shoot. I remember years ago when I was starting to really figure out money management principles. I would just start with $5. Just a little bit. Now, it could be tough because sometimes, depending on how much money you actually make, you might have to dip back into it. But just get in the habit of putting it into your savings. Just getting savings or whatever account, however you want to do it, money in the jar or something. Just get in the habit of putting something away. All right? And just forget that you have it. That way, just budget it out. Just budget, you're going to put it there and you're not going to touch it except for emergency. And ideally, you want to get to 3 months of savings that will cover every bill for 3 months. That's your goal. That's your minimum goal. You don't want to be that type who's going to dip into your savings for every little thing. You want to get to that point. One of the reasons you want to get to that point, just because of the job situation, you could be a great worker on a job, but because you're making a little bit extra, the people might be like, we got to get them out of there. Businesses downsize, they restructure all the time. And I've known plenty of people who, they be managers somewhere, whatever, and then they either got to take a lower paying job or they rub somebody the wrong way. And, they're out. So you always want to do that. You always want to have some money on the side, and then also money to invest in income producing assets. It don't have to be real estate. Real estate ain't for everybody. It could be stocks or something. There's a little bit. It don't take much. I've known at least one person who was receiving state benefits who was invested in stock. And sometimes people can build up. You got millionaires out there who all they do is just invest. They might have had a regular job for 30 years, but all of a sudden their portfolio is worth $1 million. Just on how they invested, how they managed the money. See, money is ultimately a tool. It's not something to consume. See, that's a poverty mentality. That's how you tell somebody has a poverty mentality. If you say, well, what's your savings, or where do you keep your savings? You probably shouldn't ask them how much they actually have. And if they like, well, I don't really have a savings, you're dealing with somebody who got some issues, with money management. So that's an important thing, and that's something that should be taught. That's just something should be taught to the kids, like save the money. Like, even with my own sons, they got a bad habit of wanting to spend money as soon as they get it, right? And I'm just like, dude, don't. Like, if I give them money for something, I tell them, no, you can't spend it. They be like, hey, can we go to the store? No. At least sit on that money for a week, They're young, though. They'll get the point. They'll get the point. They do have the point of at least saving up to get what they want. So, they halfway there. But anyway, right? That's it for today. Just, what? Money management is the key to going out there and making that money. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.